That's easy, yeah. Sorry, D-ball. I'm a football guy. Which football?
Good question.
Ah, see. Shooting it back at you now.
Yeah, perfect. If we could get you to just, when you answer, to look down the camera.
In the camera?
Is that right? Yeah, sweet, thank you. Right.
Very cool. Superman punch or spear?
Got to go with the Superman punch.
Baseball or basketball?
Baseball.
London or Paris?
I'm in London.
Roman Empire or British Empire?
Just got to do it, you know. Roman Empire for sure.
Dean Ambrose or Seth Rollins?
Dean Ambrose. Sorry, so he swung the chair.
Raw or SmackDown?
Raw. All day.
Rock or Austin?
Rock.
Cheese
Got to stay with the family, you know what I mean?
Cheese or chocolate?
Chocolate. Love chocolate.
Hit hard or hit often?
Both. You can still buy that on WWE Shop too, I believe.
WrestleMania 33 or WrestleMania 32?
You're trying to get me in trouble here. 32, I'd say. I won the title there, so 32.
WWE champion or Super Bowl?
WWE champion.
LeBron or Michael Jordan?
Man, this guy's tough, man. I'm going to go with LeBron, the new generation.
Minnesota or Edmonton?
Edmonton. Minnesota only gave me a day.
Face or heel?
Neither. The guy.
Be invisible or be able to fly?
Fly, for sure.
Beer or wine?
Beer. Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee. I like tea, though. Both. Both.
And finally, submission or pinfall?
Pinfall.
Perfect.
Couple.
Is that good? That's him.
Government.
We've been getting a hard time by some of the fans, unfairly I think. I just wondered, in light of that, I wondered how you're dealing with that personally. Is there anything that you feel you're doing to combat it, and what the feeling is backstage about your role as a top guy?
I think the way I can come, you know, fight back, I guess, is just to continue to do what I do. You know, continue to, you know, show up and you know, what I and everybody else around, you know, this business and within the WWE thinks is, you know, go out there and work hard and continue to show, you know, why I am the guy, and that it's not easy doing this every single day. It's not easy going to pretty much every single town and getting a reaction, and that's what I do, regardless of whether it's all cheers, if it's a mixed reaction, or if it's heavy boos, you know what I mean? And, you know, backstage, we have to look at it as we're a global company. So we're not just worried about the one town we're in, we're worried about covering for the, you know, our entire fan base. You know, the WWE universe is humongous. So we have to keep that in mind as well. So regardless of what happens tonight, you know, tonight's going to be a rowdy night. It always is. Anytime we're in the O2, it could be extremely hostile, for me at least. But, you know, if I just stay true to myself and just stay within my character, I don't think anything bad can happen. You know, as long as they're showing up and as long as they're making noise, then I've done my job, and I've helped, you know, do what I'm supposed to do, and that's draw people into the building, and, you know, hopefully we can continue to do that.
Sure. I'm talking being the guy. So The Undertaker returned at WrestleMania, and he was at the Greatest Royal Rumble. I just wondered if you had any feedback from the dead man about how good or bad a job you've been doing of running the yard.
You know, I don't like to talk too much about what me and the dead man talk about. You know, he's still one of those characters and those guys, and, you know, one of those guys in the locker room that had a lot of mystique. But I think, you know, he's seen my body at work before we had our match, and he's seen what's happened, you know, post match, and I think that I've done a good job of using everything that, you know, I was able to take within that main event at WrestleMania from him. You know, every reaction, and I think the next night just speaks for itself. You know, what happened at Monday Night Raw. But, you know, he's one of those guys who is pretty much labeled as like the godfather of this business. So he understands what's going on. He understands the business, And you know, and the kind of the shift we're on, you know, it's a whole different template, it's a whole different ball game than it used to be. You know, it's a whole different setup and so much more content, and you know, it takes a little extra these days. And luckily enough, we have, you know, legends and veterans that give back and that are willing to do that, and I'm very grateful for that.
Nice. Cheers, man.
Thank you.
I don't know if you listened to or had a chance to listen to this week's Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast.
No, unfortunately. Sorry, sorry, Steve.
No worries.
Busy
Well,
man,
I'll fill you in on what he said. He said the time is right for you to turn heel. Essentially, he thinks that this would be the right moment for you to have a heel turn, and this would give you a great deal of momentum and stuff like that. Just wonder if that what your thoughts are on that, really.
I think everybody, you know, has their opinions. I think this is a, you know, a good bit of art, you know what I mean, and it's performance. So, like ice cream, everybody has their flavor, everybody has their opinion. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He definitely knows the area and the territory that I'm in. He knows what it's like to, you know, to pull the trailer essentially, and you know, be the workhorse. So I think there's definitely a lot of truth to what he has to say, and I value his opinion. Is it going to happen? I can't guarantee that, you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where you got to kind of take it week by week and you know, just understand the role and what I'm being asked to do. But I definitely think there's a lot of great truth to, you know, to what he's thinking and his knowledge in the game. But Stone Cold's not my boss, you know what I mean? So, would I like to turn heel? I don't know, you know what I mean? It's a weird question because aren't I already a heel? You know what I mean? If I garner that reaction, what's the point? You know what I mean? If it's already happening, if I'm already being booed, why try to get booed? You know what I mean? So I think right now I'm in a cool situation and kind of a little bit different than anybody, because the only person that's really been in my shoes before is Cena. But Cena's Cena. I'm nothing like him. I've never been like him. And even if we did try to have similarities early on, it clearly didn't work. So I had to, you know, kind of find my own path and walk it and talk it the way I do. I think I have a great opportunity because I am a gray area guy to do a little bit of everything. So if I do sound or act a little more heelish, I'm not being a heel. I just had maybe a little more swag that day. You know what I mean? So I think I'm in a good place to kind of do whatever I want and just play with this character and not necessarily just be a heel or be a baby face. I feel like my character can be so much more than that.
Mm-hmm. But Tom mentioned about the mixed reactions, and you said there about John Cena getting that in his career. Is he someone you go to for advice, or not particularly?
Here and there. You know, early on I didn't want to really take much advice from Cena just because I wanted to do things my way. And he's noted that before. And you know, that's the type of guy and the type of leader he is he notices all that type of stuff, and you have to when you're on top. But as I've gotten a little further on and, you know, a lot more comfortable in my role, I have kind of, you know, knocked on his door, so to speak, and asked him a question or two, or what would you do in this situation? What would you think about this? Or how would you approach this? And he's been great at helping me, and you know, not only just in that regard, but in the match and the time I had working with him. It was phenomenal, and it's really nice to be able to, you know, have an equal, you know, and to help you and sharpen, you know, your tools, so to speak. So very grateful for him as well.
We now know that The Undertaker has not retired from in-ring competition yet.
That son of a gun.
Rumors suggest that he might have more matches in 2018 after his Rusev bout. How would you feel about a potential rematch?
I'd love to. You know what I mean? That's how you truly learn, is you wrestle a lot of different people a lot of times, you know, and that's the hard part. And I always get to say, you know, I told Rusev, congrats, man. Like, after that match, you were in the ring with the dead man. Like, there's not a lot of guys in our generation that can say that. So it's an actual honor, you know, and a privilege to share the ring with him. And if you can, you have to be like a sponge and try to absorb everything that you learn in the ring with him, because, you know, whether you get 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes in there with him, it's not as much as it used to be. So, and because he does, you know, a part-time role, and, you know, it's obviously a very major role, and when he does come back, we don't get as much time to pick his brain and to watch him work. So anytime you get that opportunity, you have to seize it, you have to jump on it and make the most of it.
And your cousin The Rock has opened up about a troubled past consisting of depression, failure, poverty, and so many other things on his way to superstardom. I was wondering how hard was your road to superstardom? What kind of difficulties did you encounter, and how did your cousin inspire you?
I think like everybody, and I'm not gonna go too deep into my, backstory and the struggles and the adversity that I had, but essentially, I was ousted from football for a medical situation. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It wasn't, it just didn't work out for me. It wasn't supposed to be for me. And while that was happening, something that I put, probably 15 years of my life into, played college football on scholarship. I was having a daughter at the time, so I had no money, I had, no job, I had very little direction, but I had a very huge purpose at that point, and that was to take care and provide for my family, which has grown ever since. So I think like a lot of different, people throughout this world, I ran into a bunch of different, similarities as far as, adversity and stuff like that. And I think, the way rock has inspired me just like everybody. Anytime you see somebody successful, I'm not a hater, you know what I mean? I like to see when people do good. And I think that's a big part of this world is, people want to see you do good, but not that good. And he's a great, example of someone who just continues to shatter the ceiling. It doesn't matter, and not to use his own deal there, but it doesn't matter the obstacle or what kind of, situation that he's put in. He seems to come out on top in every different avenue that he drives. So, kudos to him and just being the hero and the inspiration that he is, not only for people like me and, the wrestling world that would like to have, opportunities after this within entertainment, because he continues to show that, sports entertainers can do a little bit of everything. I think he's done that for, his fans all over the world, and he continues to do that.
Thank you.
Speaking of the journey, you're now obviously competing for one of the world's biggest companies across the globe, main event of WrestleMania. Can you talk about the importance of taking WWE around the globe and all these places that you've been performing and will perform in the next few weeks as well? What does it mean to you personally to compete around the world, and where does it kind of rank in terms of main event in WrestleMania?
The opportunity to travel and perform in front of a global audience that's what it's all about. I think that's why WWE is the company, and there's a lot of great promotions out there and a lot of different superstars doing a lot of cool things, but you truly can't, and maybe some guys can, and I don't want to speak for them, but in my opinion, being in the WWE, being, at the top of WWE, that is the pinnacle of our business, you know what I mean? And it's been shown that it's not just guys like me, guys like AJ Styles, guys who have, been all over the world, who've competed, in Japan and different various promotions. They're great examples of guys, who come to WWE and are successful and that it can work. And I think if you were to ask him the same question, you know what I mean? It means everything. It means, it means no matter what your path is, how much work you put in, this is where everybody should want to be. And to speak, on behalf of it, to be able to do it is it's unbelievable. It's incredible to wake up in a new city. You know what I mean? Like currently, I feel crazy. You know what I mean? I don't know where I've been in the past 3 months. We've been a little bit of everywhere. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, I get to go out there and I get to do what I love. You know what I mean? I get to spend 20, 30, 25 minutes out there that I've been waiting for essentially all day to do. And it's a huge honor, and it's really neat to be able to see so many different fans, to meet so many different people from different backgrounds, and to be a public figure for all these different people, and to be kind of like we talked about with The Rock earlier, to be their hero, so to speak, or to be that inspiration, or to be able to get a tweet from somebody from Morocco or somewhere, like going to the gym thinking about the big dog, you know what I mean? That's awesome, and that's like. I never in my whole life thought that I'd have that type of outreach and be able to stand on a platform like WWE and be able to reach out to that many people. So I think the fact that we get to travel globally and perform for really the, you know, the most broad, you know, fan base I think that out there. I mean, because it's not like football, you know, American football, where it's just big in the States, or, you know, we're just kind of big here or there. WWE is huge pretty much on every continent, and there's just so much history. I mean, we were just speaking earlier, you know, just going off of that, you know, what we have going on here, you know, in the next couple months with the UK tournament. There's just so much history throughout this, you know, throughout the wrestling and sports entertainment business globally, that, you know, to be able to continue to carry that torch and do what, you know, I'm able to do every single week, it's a true blessing.
I may be underselling this a little bit, but it sounds like a pretty hectic schedule. Do you guys get time to reflect on kind of what you've achieved as you kind of in this whirlwind of travelling as well? How, you know, how difficult is it to balance that kind of personal life and family life with the work commitments?
I think, you know, it's been crazier for me because, you know, I have more kids now, and that's the hardest thing, is juggling, you know, both, and then kind of wearing, you know, dual hats, you know, because you have to be prepared for the road, and then you have to be prepared for home, and you know, honestly, the harder work is at home at this point. You know, it's you know, maintaining this travel schedule, and then when I get home, I have to hit the ground running. You know, there's really no rest. I have, you know, 2 crazy boys running around, twin boys that are just terrorizing my house at this point. So at this point, I got to just continue to make money. That way, I can rebuild the house they're breaking. But it, you know, it's not easy, and it takes a very strong, you know, support system and a very strong, you know, wife and a woman behind you. And you know, luckily I have all that, you know, and luckily I have, you know, family experience that have been in, you know, in this place before. I grew up in a wrestling family, and I know what it's like to not have my dad there every single day. You know, I know the hardships of this travel and this schedule and what it can do to families, and I've seen it, I've experienced it. So that's always one of my biggest goals, is to maintain my family and always keep them number one. That way, you know, at the end of the day, I love performance. I love WWE. I love my fans. I love going out to the ring and doing what we do. But I will not lose my family for it, ever, for anybody. You know, and that's always been a goal of mine. And I, you know, if I can continue to just be the man that I am and maintain that, then I'm going to come out, you know, smelling fresh like roses to me, you know, and that's a goal, a life goal of mine. And you know, every day you just kind of, it's like a piggy bank, you plug in just a little bit at a time, and hopefully, you know, once we're all done performing, I'll be able to sit on a, you know, a very happy career and watch my kids grow up.
I think it's fair to say that you've had a very successful career and you've had some of the biggest matches, but what is the one person that you look at the locker room that you want to feud with next?
I'd say Daniel Bryan. At this point, it's just about reactions, you know, and we can talk about so many different various things about wrestling and, you know, the different things that, you know, make up the art form and the performance, but when it comes down to it, it's just about making people make a lot of noise. And there's no question when Bryan gets out there, it's, I mean, and sometimes it'll go, you know, one way or the other. It's a yes or a no with him, but the way he's able to, you know, affect and control the crowd is very cool. And to be able to share the ring with someone like that, you know, and obviously with the reactions and kind of, you know, the way I stir up the crowd, I think it would make for a pretty dynamic, you know, atmosphere and a very electric atmosphere. So. And, you know, Bryan's one of the best ever to ever step in the ring, and, you know, I have a lot of respect for him, and, you know, the fact that to see someone like him who's on top, you know, and to have it all taken away so fast is very scary, you know, and it's really cool to see him back and to have his talents back on the roster, back in that ring, you know, helping and contributing to the business that, you know, we both and we all love. I think it would be pretty neat to be able to be in the ring with him. Y'all want to see me turn heel? Put me in the ring with Daniel Bryan. Yeah. That's how you get me turn heel right there.
With obviously yourself being at the top now, being the top guy, like we've had it with The Rock, we've had it with John Cena, and obviously at the end of their career they've gone into the movie industry. Could you see yourself heading that way, or you just WWE bound to retire?
I'm open really for anything, you know, and I'm kind of at the point where I would like to at least try. You know what I mean? Why not try one or two and just see the experience? I've done a few commercials here and there, but you know, for me, and then that's when I'm not lying about it. I'm the only guy who hadn't done a movie. You know what I mean? Like Seth has done a movie or two. Dean's done a movie. You know, but I never I literally have a couple days off coming up after these tours, and I can't remember the last time I had like true time off. I can't remember like when I had like a huge project that just wasn't making this town. So like I've literally been that dog that goes to every town, like pulling the trailer. And I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to do that. Somebody, you know, and there's other guys like Miz, excuse me, who do a lot of different things for us, and you know, does a lot of MTV work. He does a lot of hosting, and he's a workhorse in his own right. But somebody has to be there to main event every show, and that's the role that I have. And you know, I embrace that. And to be honest, you know, while I have my health and while I have, you know, the energy to do this, to be able to, you know, to run like this, to be able to be this consistent, I might as well get it done. And then when, you know, the wheels start falling off, then maybe we can lean on movies. But I really enjoy what I'm doing in the ring, and you know, there's just nothing, and they'll all tell you, the reactions from wrestling and sports entertainment is different than sitting on a set. And I don't have much experience with sitting on a set, but I have a lot of experience being in the WWE universe and hearing that simultaneous reaction of I do this, they do that. And you can't duplicate that really anywhere else other than maybe Broadway. So I think that's what makes this so addictive, and that's why I enjoy, you know, the role that I play. And you know, some may look at it as like, oh, I haven't had the opportunity to do this, this, and this. No, I've had an opportunity to do exactly what I wanted to do, and that's be on every single show, to main event, you know, multiple different types, you know, different shows on different levels and different continents, and you know, hopefully they never take that gig away from me.
One of your biggest rivals in the WWE, Brock Lesnar, continues to tease a return to the UFC. If he does go back there, how do you think he'll do? And have you ever thought about trying out an MMA?
I mean, we saw what he did last time. You know, his last fight was Mark Hunt, I believe, and he looked great. You know, and at his age, you know, he's not getting any younger. So I think, you know, this is the time to pull the trigger when it comes to that. And as we talked a little bit, you know, about going into Hollywood and things like that, it's important that WWE superstars are successful in other genres of entertainment. So, you know, I support him fully in what he does. You know, and it's pretty neat to be able to watch him go in the octagon after, you know, wrestling him and doing what we do. As far as me being in the MMA, I don't really have any desire. You know, I come from a family of performers and wrestlers, and you know, I'm kind of living in my family business now. You know, and I don't have an amateur background. I played, you know, college football and a little bit of professional football. So the octagon just really isn't my yard, I don't think. I like where I'm at this point.
Will you be watching CM Punk in his return fight in UFC?
If it goes longer than 30 seconds, yeah. I better, you know, prepare my food and drinks early, because you never know, you know.
Cool. So your promo battles with John Cena last year were really entertaining. I wanted to know, how much did he give you a heads up in advance about anything that was going to be said, and do you really feel that that particular exchange helped you grow as a performer on the mic?
John's sharp, you know, regardless of like whatever the game plan is, you know, he's been in the game long enough and dealt with the different reactions, and John's very good at ad-libbing. So, you know, if something pops up, something comes about, he'll load it up and he'll shoot it. And you're right, I learned a lot. I mean, just being in there and kind of, you know, riding through his process was really neat. And it's, you know, I don't really get the opportunity much anymore to be in that role, because now I'm that guy with most of the, you know, the people that I'm working with. But to be able to kind of see his system and the way, you know, he thinks about the business, the way he approaches things, I always try and learn. You know, I always try to look at different perspectives, and it was a great, you know, a great stepping stone and a great, you know, level for me to learn at, and hopefully I can just continue to grow and get better from it, because, you know, that's the key really, is to continue to progress. Because if you don't, you're just going to kind of stay where you're at. And in this business, if you don't progress, you're not going to stay at the top of the mountain. You're going to find yourself, landsliding. So, I definitely enjoyed, that program with him, and I learned a lot from it. But, the guy called me out about my zipper bust. I literally couldn't do anything about it. Like, it busted, like, right before I went out. And there's no way to, like, just take these pants off. Like, I have, like, big combat boots, like, blousing straps, like, all kinds of, like, there's no way to get out of those pants and back in new ones before that. And that's how quick he is. And he saw it, and he busted my balls literally about it, and thank God I had a quick comeback. But that's kind of how you have to be. You have to be ready, and you have to be prepared, because you never know what you're going to get out there, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like tonight, I have no clue what the crowd's going to do to me. No clue at all until I get out there. So you have to be able to kind of play with them and let them in on the, let them be a part of the show and do their thing and use their energy to your advantage. But you have to be quick, and Cena he has that in spades, and I definitely learned from that.
Obviously, leaning on what they said about the heel turn earlier, we saw the Usos, obviously you're very close with, on SmackDown execute a brilliant heel turn that took them to a new level. How did you think that played out for them? Like, what was your thoughts on how they did it, and do you see that and think, that maybe that could work for me in that regard, like the way that they've stepped up into the different level they are now?
I've been around my cousins for a long time, and for a while we've been waiting for that, and I've had a lot of talks with them, and they've used a lot of this material, but they were tired of being, underappreciated. They're tired of having that lack of respect. They were just tired of a bunch of different shit, essentially. You know what I mean? Like that. When it came down to it, they were just tired. And they were ready for a change. They wanted more responsibility. They wanted a bigger role, everything that comes with it. And the thing that makes them so special is each other. I don't have a twin, you know what I mean? So, but like what you see, what you've seen over the past few years, I've seen that my whole life. I've been like double teamed by them. Like, I'm arguing with one, and then shut up, I'm talking to your brother. Like, leave me alone. What are you doing? Like that. I mean, that's how they really are, and they really do have each other's back in every regard. I mean, to this day, they're 32 years old, and they know. I guarantee they know which room each other's in, because nobody has each other's backs like twins. And for whatever reason, I'm being dominated by twins my whole life. I had them growing up, and now I have my own. But it's a really neat, if you have any siblings or any twins, the dynamic, and I think that's why whatever they wanted to do, whether they wanted to portray the characters that they're playing now or be something else, all they had to do was just choose to do what they wanted to do and attack it together. And when they go at stuff together, nobody can beat them. They're the best. I mean, right now, I honestly think I only compete with them. I mean, as far as, promo material, it's them and Cena, you know what I mean, that have really just been just above and beyond promo-wise, and there's a lot of good promos out there and a lot of guys who are doing great stuff, but I not to, mark out for my cousins, but they have been just delivering awesome material lately, and I think, it's obvious the way they've been used. The respect that they've always had that respect in the locker room. We've always been locker room guys. We've always, looked at being leaders and doing as much as we can to help out the boys. But like, they've always had that respect, and I think that is starting to translate to the ring. But that was their way, you know what I mean? I got to do things my way, and over time you'll slowly, I hopefully see just continuous evolution and just continuous growth. But if I had a hype man to help me out, on every other line I said, that would be really nice. But I'm super proud of them. I know their dad is. I know, all our family is. And I'm excited, not only to see, where they go, but also where I go, because you never know. I mean, the story is there. It's easy. We all represent the same bloodline. We all represent the same family. So it would be pretty cool, maybe one day if there was a Samoan Shield, maybe. Maybe.
Guys, a couple of questions extra. time.
Freestyle it.
Do you want to keep going around?
Yeah, I've got another quick one. I'm currently writing about trying to get my son into WWE, to turn him into a WWE fan. And he's 5 and he's completely new to it, so I'm showing him like a new superstar or event or match every week. I just wondered if there are anything you would recommend that he should watch, the sort of things that would give him the sort of fundamental basics, perhaps things that followed your imagination as a kid.
It's tough, you know, because we go back to kind of like the history thing. There's just so much, you know, and, you know, I got hooked on something different than, you know, another guy got hooked on, you know. For me, it was, you know, Bret Hart. And it wasn't like, you know, a lot of people like, I remember when Hogan slammed Andre. I just remember Bret Hart having a whole bunch of awesome matches, like week after week. And they used that workhorse word for him as well, you know what I mean? And like any other guy that held the IC title or worked their way up, you know, all the way to the heavyweight championship. And what was weird is that he was wrestling my cousin Yokozuna. And back then it was just, you know, a little bit of a different product, you know what I mean? A lot, I guess, more Disneyland-ish, you would say, you know, a little more gimmicky. But, you know, he was wrestling a sumo, you know what I mean? But just the work that he put in, you know, and what he stood for and being the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. He just seemed like, just, not to sound corny, but an awesome guy. And I was like, man, I want those I want those glasses. I want to be that kid in the front row. I want to experience that. Thank God Yoko, rest his soul, he got me some glasses from back in the day. But it wasn't the same. And that's what made me want to go to the show, was just something that little. So really there's a plethora of things, you know what I mean? To tell him, come to the show, I'll give him a glove. How about that?
He's coming.
Perfect. But yeah, you just never really know. That's what's neat. Is it's a circus and we have so many different types of acts, and so it's a variety show, you know, in a weird way. And if you don't like me or another guy, you may like somebody else. You might like Nuda. You might like pancakes being thrown everywhere. So, you know, that's one thing that I think, you know, that we have that a lot of other shows don't, is we can change it up like no other. And we have so many different things that you could be into and so many different possibilities as far as our storytelling.
Sure. Cheers, man.
There's anyone else? Go on.
Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know what your favourite rivalry in your career has been thus far, and why.
Say it again.
Your favourite rivalry in your career so far, and why.
Probably Strowman. Not to get too inside, but I made a monster. Whatever they're doing with him now, whatever. But I made a legitimate monster where people believed this guy could actually pick up ambulances and dumpsters and trucks, and you know what I mean? And when there's a chemistry, there's a chemistry. But my hat goes off to him because he trusted me. You know, he trusted the experience and the performer that I am. And I thought we were able to make magic in, you know, the 6 to 8 months that we worked. And I thought we were able to make a big star. And, you know, he's continuing, you know, in the system, he's continuing down the path, and he's got a long ways to go, but, you know, it takes, you know, that willingness to learn, that willingness to listen, and as odd as it sounds, to show up every day, you know, everyone just, that's your job, show up for work, right? You just show up. Why are you bragging about that? But this job's a little different, you know what I mean? Essentially, we're in a car wreck every single night, so, you know, and he's a big old boy, and to be, you know, lugged around the world and, you know, to do this process, it's not easy for the bigger guys, so I'm pretty proud of, you know, just what we were able to do in the short amount of time, and, you know, from him all the way, you know, the internet's real, so you can find this anyways, but from him essentially being a rosebud at one point in his career to being a monster amongst men, I think we did pretty good.
A lot of people say that you are the next face of the company. How would you describe your working relationship with Vince McMahon?
It's my relationship with Vince McMahon. That's a lot of my business. You know, regardless of what we do on, you know, the storylines and all that, you know, all the McMahons, they're great people. And if you know them, you know, and you've gotten to talk to them on that level, it's very easy to see that. They're very personable. and that's the key is you have to build a relationship, you know, and it kind of goes a little bit back to, you know, the global like audience thing, and just being able to relate and build all these different relationships, you know, and it's not just with the McMahons, it's everybody, the crew, you know. I know all the cameramen, all, you know, the people that set up the building, you know, the props people, all of them, you know, the catering crew. Like, it's just about getting to know people and letting people get to know you. And, you know, a lot of that does translate, and that's got to be your psychology as far as on screen as well. But, you know, I can't say Vince has ever done me wrong, you know. I mean, regardless of, you know, all the fantasy bookers out there and this is what should be done and, oh, they're screwing you over, this and that. At the end of the day, life's been pretty good for me in the wrestling business. So I'd have to chalk a lot of that up to the relationship that I do have with Vince and the way that he's always taken care of me, along with, you know, everybody else. You know, everybody always wants to say, oh, you're Vince's boy. Nah, we're all Vince's boy. We're the girls that Vince's girls, you know, he takes care of all of us. And to have that responsibility and that role, it's not easy to be a provider and a protector, and that's what he is. And you know, I think along with everybody else, I can say that we're all very grateful.
Good one to end on, guys.
Oh, you killed me.
Unless it's a killer question.
Oh, I was just
Is it the best question ever?
Yeah, just get away.
Let's do it. This is the last
high.
one, because
All
I'm
right.
guessing you want a picture.
Yeah, we would for our social team, ideally.
You good to do pictures with these
Yeah,
guys?
that's cool.
Share the start?
I just wanted to quickly
These guys
ask,
are all right.
basically, on your Shield brethren, what you think of Seth's hot streak this year, and have you spoken to Dean and how his recovery is going, and has he let you know how he's getting on when he should be coming back?
Dean is like a wild fox. He's tough to track, but I think he's been doing good. You know, I think he's just been down in Birmingham for the most part, just killing it. You know, just working his butt off, rehab and training, and just the fact that like he uprooted from his real home and, you know, put everything into that, I think just shows, you know, the work ethic and the passion that he has for getting back to, you know, doing what he loves. And we need him. You know, he's a workhorse. And that's what we need around here, guys, you know, that pull that wagon, guys who can go out there and do 6 segs a night, guys who can main event, guys who, you know, can throw one of these things on and do media all morning. You know, we need guys like that, and that kind of brings me to Seth. You know, he's killing it, you know what I mean? And one thing that we all have pride in is the Shield. We always want to take care, that's our baby. So essentially, we want to look out for each other. We always want each other to be, you know, if I'm here, I want him to be right there with me, you know what I mean? Because it's just going to be better for business. If he's huge and I'm huge, then it's just going to be more money for everybody. But it's been a really cool transition to see him, you know, evolve and just be the performer that he is. I've known it for a long time, you know, and I've been around him for a long time, but he's really evolved into a cool role now and helped me out a great bit. And it's really cool to see him, you know, in the places where he wasn't the best at, he's really gotten good at, you know, different things, you know, and different locker room things, and just being a leader and being relatable and being there, you know, to help people out. And, you know, I think that shows throughout the locker room.
Thank you very much, man.
Cool.
That was a killer question.